What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys jumping into another episode of the Agent to CEO podcast. Got Mr. Jeff Thibodeau in the house with us. And Jeff, brother, I want to jump right in kind of what we were chatting about before we hit go here and really just talk about the ebbs and flows and the evolution within the real estate space over the last couple of decades. And I was just smiling as you were just kind of sharing kind of your journey. And I'm like, yep, that feels kind of, the path that a lot have taken. And, obviously sharing your journey and your story, and obviously always easier to look back and connect the dots. When we get to kind of where we're at to be able to look at, but man, give us a little context, a little background, quick introduction, and then let's kind of walk through your journey in the real estate space.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess this is my 18th year in the industry. I came about it as like a sort of second career. I was in the market research industry for a decade and kind of hit a glass ceiling there, where there didn't seem like there was a next level unless I wanted to own a company or move into the big metropolitan city. So I had just bought and sold my own personal home, and I was a good client. So I figured, oh man, that agent made a lot of money. And I was a pretty good client, right? And so I thought I'll do that. And I got into it right in the big US financial crash was my first year, but I didn't know any better. So we just worked hard, and I was in my late 20s. So I had sphere business. I've been in my hometown my whole life. But around year 3 or so, it wasn't really like winning yet. I hadn't found my groove because I'm not an extrovert. I wasn't out networking and shaking hands with everybody. But I started to figure out how to do some online marketing and use the tools that were just kind of coming about because I was personally interested in them. I was using Facebook from college, and I liked playing around with Google tools and analytics and things like that. So I had this like first to market thing where all of a sudden I was generating leads for like sub $1, and I was supplementing this growing sphere business with all these strangers, which honestly I started to enjoy doing business with more. It was a little more just like, it was less emotional. It was just more, let's get it going. And then like everyone, I think if you find a way to generate more business than you need, you're looking to take advantage of that somehow. So I had another couple young agents eventually join me. And we just kept rolling like that. We were like kind of an anomaly in our town. But then eventually we ended up deciding to take that business model because we weren't just good at leads. We started getting good at everything, all the operational systems, like we were being coached and everything and trained by the right people, right? So we were just good students, and we just built a cool team. And we thought, okay, let's turn this team into a brokerage. Instead of just offering it to team members, let's offer all these services to everybody, independent agents. And that took off like crazy too, because it was like a white space in our market where there hadn't been a new cool brokerage in a while, and we were just really passionate. So that grew. And then, of course, things change. And, long story short, I ended up selling that brokerage back in 2021 and then gone full circle. I hung up my license for a couple of years, was mostly an investor. But then I got reconnected with some people I used to work with and decided to light my license back up and just focus on my own business. It was like I had this little aha. We didn't talk about this before the call, but it was like, I was like, I've been coaching and training other people for like 10 years now. What if I just stopped that frustrating job, right? And just coached the guy in the mirror to have like a great next decade of your life through this job, right? And so that's the mission I'm on right now. It's just go out, treat this as a job, do a really good job, build a business, make money, and go have an awesome life with my wife and kids in the time off. So it's like it's come full circle. And now I'm just my own business coach mostly, or anyone that'll call me, but I don't do much of it paid at all anymore. But I'm happily mentoring anyone who seems enthusiastic about this job. But yeah, that's where we're at as of today. And now, of course, we're dealing with all the ups and downs of markets over the last 18 years and seeing the business from every angle, not, junior agent to successful agent to broker owner to ops manager. Like I've sat in every seat of this job. And yeah, I guess that's why we're talking today.
So it's fascinating, right? We just feel that's kind of the evolution of what we should be doing, growing into, more leadership roles. And then, hey, I guess we're supposed to grow a business and we're supposed to do these things. And you start to believe that's the path you should go, but then you start to look at the financials and, especially where I've seen a lot of real estate agents, they don't stay disciplined to kind of the business side of it, and they get themselves into more of a, lifestyle type business. So, as revenue goes up, lifestyle goes up, and then, the ebbs and flows of the market, does what it's done over the last 3-4 years, and, kind of sometimes catch themselves into kind of a sticky situation if they're not really careful. But for you, looking at the ebbs and flows and, what kind of, I'm always fascinated too, Jeff, with kind of the decision process that goes into it. And sometimes I look back even younger, making dumb decisions. It was more, chasing status or wanting to, chase, number one in the market or chase, some of the things that aren't worth chasing. And maybe it's a maturity, maybe it's running into the right mentor, maybe it's getting the right model to be able to navigate and maybe lead you like you did full circle. But kind of talk us through here, kind of the decision process that you went through on that journey, and looking back and be like, that's a really good decision if this is what you want. However, kind of the season of life you're in, the decision to focus on being the best version of you and really extracting all that this industry and business has to offer us. I would just love kind of your thinking and kind of lean this way. If you're built this way, lean this way. If you're, wanting to accomplish XYZ.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when people come to me and ask me about this job, I tell them, you're going to go get a license it's a license to an entire industry. What job you pick is really going to be up to you. But like getting your real estate license is like this key that lets you access in a whole industry. And it's a very entrepreneurial industry if you want it to be, but it also can be a very, normal job type operation. So I think for me, like at the beginning, the main driver was this, like, it seemed like very independent. Like before I started, right? It was like, oh, there's something I can like go and do. I had been frustrated in my work environment with the effort to reward ratio. I wasn't in like a bonus environment or a growth environment in my company. It was a very much just a rinse and repeat kind of annual revenue type of market research firm with the same base of clients. And like, there was no growth. I had to really fight for any raise or an extra week off, right? And I didn't want that. That wasn't the life. My parents are both worked really hard, like as employees their whole life, right? Right till their retirement age. It wasn't like, so my main thing getting into it was like, I want this like job. I can go get rewarded if I do good, because I think I can win. Like, if I put my mind to something and I learn it, I can be in the top 10%, I believe, of like almost anything you try, right? If you really focus. So I was like, I can go do this. Then I think reality hit, right? And it became just survive, because once it became an important source of my income, it wasn't like a lot of people part-time this job, which is fine. I got nothing against that. If you got some other steady income and these are bonus checks you get to earn as a real estate agent, bless you, right? But for me, it was like I was starting a young family, and this became like not only ego, you got to win, or you're going to look like this dummy that just told everyone he was a real estate agent for 3 years, and now what? You're back to putting your resume out there, and also wanting, having goals and wanting nice things for my family. So that started pushing me to growth. And then I got involved in a growth environment, like a coaching world, where that's all it's drink from the fire hose, right? If you're in, you're in. So you're going to grow, and you're going to do what you're told. And in that environment, it's just always next level, right? It's like, and bless their heart, but it's like, it's never good enough in a growth environment. It's you're just like, there's always a next level, and that's a great mindset. And that can be really powerful and get you where you want to go, but it can also burn you out, I think. So I think I went through that growth mindset and just kept finding the next thing. It was like, oh, I can be better. I can make better systems. I can coach other people. I can run a team. Oh, I can turn this into a brokerage. Look at me go, right? Give me another level kind of attitude. And that was my whole 30s and into my early 40s. And then I think just shifting like priorities, kids getting older, you're staring at yourself in the mirror, like, have I spent enough time on myself? And like, what was this all for after you sell the company and stuff? And you're like, all that effort, what was it for? Right.
Exactly.
You start thinking that. And then I think for me anyways, that created a realignment, and no regret to what I did. I loved it. It was a fun journey.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, okay. I see what the kind of senior veteran agents who have had long careers and are very chill people, nice people, right? They're not grinding anymore. They're just having these great lives because they've built these wonderful businesses and people trust them. They don't have massive ad budgets and anything. The deals come in, they do the deals, they have a great life. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's the next cycle here for me too, right? And I feel like I'm trying to win at that game now. And I feel like it's repeating, but it's a different level. It seems like a step back, but it's actually the next level for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And maybe there is a level of understanding, maturity, what really matters, what doesn't. But, looking at kind of navigating through that, what were some of the big roadblocks and challenges that led to the next decision, right? That led to ultimately to where you're at, kind of navigating through. And I guess, Jeff, what I'm trying to maybe, pull out here is, agents listening in that are kind of navigating, that are wanting to build a team, build an organization. Cause I just feel kind of where we're at in the space of things within the real estate industry, especially in North America. I mean, I think you got a kind of a decision to make, right? Do you get down the path exactly where you're at, right? Because there's nothing in this business that makes you more money than you helping motivate its sellers, then utilizing that money to reinvest. And I love kind of the environment you're in. You have some of that mindset, obviously aligning with Scott, and Scott's mindset around utilizing this business to unlock bigger financial opportunities from wealth creation. So that's one path. The other path is what they're doing, right? You're seeing the M&As, you're seeing the mergers, you're seeing it all through, the big companies all the way down. I mean, obviously just got approval last week with, Anywhere and Compass. We're starting to see a lot of the mega teams getting bigger and bigger coming together. Exactly what, Scott Ryan and Steve did as well. So kind of for you, what are some maybe some questions or things that need to be answered to kind of help you navigate the path, the choice to make and which direction you want to go in this industry?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think like looking back on it, it felt like I was, you felt like you were in control, but looking back on it, you're definitely getting pulled down a path, right? From your surroundings or from what was laid out there as, oh, this is the next thing to go get, right? And I think for anyone at the start of that journey, if you're like successful agent thinking, okay, what's next? I think the most important thing is to look at what part of the job you really like. I think there's so much pressure, at least back when I was in the coaching environment, that somehow production was like a lowly task, right? Like the whole goal was get out of production. Can we get out of production? And it's like everything else sucks too, right? Operations sucks, marketing sucks, like HR sucks, like brokerage trust accounts suck, like transactions for most agents, if you're good, that's probably what you like, actually. So it seems, now I was a little wired different. Like I do really enjoy solving operational problems and building systems. People think I'm an operator, but I don't really want to run it every day. But give me a business problem for my brain to work on, and that's fun, right? That's stimulating. But I do enjoy the client process. I put that thinking back onto my clients now. Instead of thinking of it as a high volume business, I try to think of each of my clients as like a very interesting problem to solve. They want top price. It's a challenging market. We got problems with the house, and really put that entrepreneurial energy on each client. And that kind of seems to stimulate it, instead of having to go, always blow it up to the next level. Man, so like, I don't know. I don't have to serve 1,000 people, right? You can keep the system small, and it takes a lot of complication out of it, and you can just go do your job and have a nice life. It's the other way, right?
Yeah, it really is. And I've, gone full circle with it. Me personally walking into an already successful by success, during the time frame in just a few years before you got into the industry. And being able to see kind of the team dynamic and, coming from, Hall of Fame coach's home, right? So kind of grew up in, the athletic sports team environment. My dad being, in the public school system and coaching and teaching for over 40 years. So I was kind of, ingrained in a team kind of mindset and mentality. So I've always really looked into that. And then, over the last, 7-8 years being more just in the coaching seat and doing, the one-on-one coaching side of things, I do miss kind of the bigger team camaraderie. And so I think maybe it's a season of life. Maybe it's a preference. Maybe it's just kind of where you feel like you can really get into your comfort zone, really where you can get into that kind of that groove and create the environment that you're going to, thrive and succeed in. And it's just like for you, you've gone, so, I feel like you've gone a couple circles around and to land where you're at. But I also feel like it's a season, right? It's a season of your life to really determine kind of where you can navigate. That's the beautiful thing with this industry, man. You can really design a lot of different structures really to support whatever goals and whatever you're wanting to accomplish.
Yeah, I think it's both it's the biggest blessing, and also people still think it's the biggest curse of this industry is that you're 100% in charge of your 24 hours a day. And so you can grab that and use it for whatever. And that seasons of life thing is where I'm thinking about, right? Like on a tangent where in some seasons of life, you can be like fully committed. You're a single person. You've got no big hobbies or other ambitions other than winning in business and making money. Then like, let's go. Right.
Yeah.
And then other seasons happen where you want to be more present at other things, or they weigh, things change, and or you've had your success and you want to feel like you're enjoying some fruits of the labor and not totally burnt out all the time.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. And it's funny to have that perspective. Like, I don't know that I would have, I think originally as like a teenager, I probably felt this way. Like I want to have a chill life. And then I got sucked into like the growth and entrepreneurialism. And that was so good. I don't regret any of it. It was so fun. And like, it's like almost a drug you miss, right? You're looking for problems to solve all the time. And then, but it is reminding myself that I am taking my new work-life balance and I'm really having a good life with it, enjoying that. I'm not sitting on the couch, right? Getting to do things that I want and be present in my family's life. So that feels good too. So I think that's the biggest thing people have to realize is you can, in this industry more than any other, design your next year of your life, where a lot of other industries, you're going to do whatever your boss wants you to do next year, or whether the company changes your role or changes your hours or shifts or whatever. But in this one, whatever you want, you can at least believe you can go out and get it for yourself in the next 12 months. And that's why I think I stick in this industry, even though, like you could probably pivot and go into lots of different channels for generating income. But there's something about this industry that just like, it's the entrepreneurialism and the flexibility of it all that I love. But you hear a lot of people complain about it. I bet you do in coaching too. Like, burnt out, I get no time off. I'm like, well, who's in charge of your calendar, right? So
yeah.
I try to remember, like with gratitude every day, that's the thing I like the most is full control of my life is what I appreciate most about this job and industry.
I love that. And that's where I was kind of wanting to go. And I would love for you to maybe put that coach hat back on for a second and kind of walk through for agents, especially, what are we 3-4 years in a downturn market.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting statistic. Leo was in a mastermind on last Friday, and Leo Pareja, the CEO of EXP, he zoomed into the mastermind and he shared some interesting statistics, and he was talking about it for North America, because we got into kind of a conversation globally. And, if you've never been outside of US and Canada, and especially within the real estate space, to understand outside of US and Canada, man, it's the wild, wild west, right? There's, I mean, it's like cooperation. I mean, without like the MLS and being able to just have, access to the data. I mean, it's wild. It's just absolutely wild. So we got into some conversations about kind of where we see headcount and things to go. But what he shared was that in 25 over 24, there was 2% increase in, what did he say? Revenue, might have been in revenue, or average sales price. Anyways, that wasn't the statistic that didn't even mean anything. I didn't even latch onto that. Where my ears perked up was the biggest jump has been the top producers. And he measured this just within EXP, right? Just tracking all the EXP data. However, I'm sure it's the same at Real. I'm sure it's the same at any company when you talk, the top producers of any given market. He said what's really interesting is that the top agents took 15.8% more market share in the same number of homes being sold. And we didn't really see there was a decline in agents. Basically what he was saying is all the part-time agents are getting out and the top producers are grabbing all the market share that the part-time agents had. And so knowing maybe we're only going to have the same number of sales, knowing the best of the best are going to continue to capture more market share, where I would love to get kind of your perspective on it, because you said some really key things, earlier about getting out of way of ego, really establishing a gratitude practice, some of the things that I feel are foundationally critical to navigating, uncertainty. Because really the real estate industry is just like, if you can't, if your uncertainty level is like you cater, you crash and burn and lock up in times of uncertainty, this industry is not for you, right? Because it is, every day is filled with uncertainty. Where is the mindset, kind of the, maybe some of the mental models, some of the things to kind of, the accurate thought to be able to be thinking to really progress and grow and navigate markets of uncertainty? I would love to just, because I feel like you have been through a lot. You've seen a lot within this industry to know mindset is everything, but where should agents be thinking? How should they be improving their mindset, their thinking, navigating uncertainty in the markets like we're in?
I think that there's some like mindset things, and then there's some very tactical things. I wrote down like one thing that I had to really learn, especially with like when things are look bad, is that your brain takes you to zero, right? Mentally, when something looks challenging. Like, so, and that goes with the market too. If the market looks challenging, people's brain, whether they think it or not, they're thinking of like, oh my God, there's going to be no deals, like zero. And all you got to do is go into your market stats and look at the slowest months in the last 20 years. It's never zero, right? There's always thousands of paychecks happening, even when the market is air quotes the worst. So it's getting off this like, I'm good if the market's good and I'm bad if the market's bad roller coaster mindset. And I really try to preach that at the new team, because I give the market updates once in a while in the team meeting. And I'm like, look, I don't have good news as far as like the market goes, but it's just accept it. I'm not telling you your year is going to be worse. We have to take this news and use it two ways. We use it to help our clients make decisions, and we use it to change what we do on a daily basis for our business. Like, how am I going to redirect my business efforts if I know this is the market? So I think the biggest thing is we have to do more, right? That's unfortunate news for a lot of people, is the same output's probably going to require more effort in one way or another, more new leads, more listings on the market, more whatever works for you. In a shrinking market or a more challenging market, it's going to take slightly or significantly more effort. And a lot of people don't want to hear that as the answer. So it's like, for me, it's really about clearing out the other crap that's in the way so that you can just double down. And I like to, like for myself and anyone that asks for my help, I'm directing all their attention at the front of their activities. It's like, what are we doing to generate more conversations? Because if we can generate more conversations, then we can do better qualification. And if we do better qualification, then we can actually have A clients no matter the market, and then we can close our deals. But if we do it all wrong, if you don't have any abundance in your front end of your lead generation funnel in one way or another, then you're going to take any scrap of a lead that comes along. And most leads that are, or even most clients in a bad market are going to be net negative investment, right?
Yeah.
And so if you get yourself caught up, for most part-time agents, say doing not part-time, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Most not air quotes top agents. So say we're doing 3 or deals less a month. If you get caught up with 3+ bad clients, you might book 2 zeros in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think it all reverse engineers that if I still, there are A+ clients out there, there's great clients. I need to have so much going on that I'm willing to qualify harder and find the A's or put the B's in the back burner, not rush out and let them mature and everything. And that all starts at the front of the funnel is I got to be generating conversations every day. Because if I'm feeling scarce, I'm going to go run around with all the B, C, D, and E clients and make no money. And that's just really tactical. And it's too bad because everybody needs help, but there's a lot of clients. Like I took a lessons learned, right? Like, I don't know, overshare. I went into doing a couple leases last year, right? And nothing against leases, but for me in my market, the paycheck is 1/10 of what a sale is, and the effort is 10x.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the 3 leases I did, and I go, why did I say yes to this? Even though there was dollars made, it's like you don't want to sound like obnoxious. Like there was money, I earned money, yes, I was paid. But what could have I been doing with that time instead that was sucked up in those 3 huge transactions, right? That didn't really amount to much. So I think that's the main thing I'm thinking about is just like, that's why the teams or the top agents are taking more market share, because I think they're trying harder and their income depends on it. And if you're part-time and you're just waiting for the phone to ring from your sphere or stuff, it might not be as easy in slower times to get your goals.
I love that. And is it just a mindset of consistency? I think that's you've nailed a couple key things, right? And you did this early on. I think gave you such a competitive advantage and probably instilled the confidence that you can overcome any obstacle. Is you understand lead generation and you understand, the facets of marketing, direct response marketing, being able to generate, opportunities. Like you said, I mean, you cracked the code early on, generating, leads for under $1 a lead. I mean, that's like, I think once you can crack that code, that gives you a sense of confidence that no matter what situation, you're going to be able to navigate through it because you can get to, like you said, the top of the funnel to be able to create those opportunities. Where for you, like if you're coaching kind of agents in the marketplace right now, where, obviously the mindset is critical to be able to think through it and overcome, but maybe it's a skills question, Jeff, that I'm thinking about. What is the skills for an agent in today's market? I don't care if you've been in the game, 17, 18 years like yourself, or you're brand new. Like, what are the skills that you really have to hone in on and continuously develop to be able to navigate any type of market?
I think one of the biggest skills that comes up when the market slows down is the ability to get into disagreements with your client without getting fired or getting hired while disagreeing at the listing table, right? So when the market's good, we just have to be yes men. On the buy side, let's go shopping. You like this one? Let me help you win it. What's your max offer? When the market's good on the sell side, it's like, let me tell you how much your house is worth and let me go get it for you. But when the market's slow on both sides, most of our job is having uncomfortable conversations with the people that are paying us, right? So it's a much harder skill that I think, unless you've been through a market cycle and had to just learn it in the trenches, you might not have the confidence to tell someone their house isn't worth what they paid for it, or to even tell a buyer that they're being crazy with this lowball offer. They should just take the house is already a deal. Like having these conversations to help people get to their goal, where there's going to be a lot of disagreement. Even a guy called me yesterday because he watches my YouTube videos. It sounds like a teed up lead, but he went right into, All my friends or family are telling me, why would I pay a full price realtor when all these people will do it for nothing, and all that matters in this market is price? Like, he just hit me straight up with it, right, on a live call. And it's like, if you can't answer that question, it's going to be a tough market for you. But so that's the skill, I think, is being able to sit and not get frustrated or intimidated by these conversations. If you get one and it doesn't go well, you got to leave that conversation and write down what happened and go home and study and practice and check on YouTube or call your coach and build that skill and put it in your toolbox and then do it again. And I think a lot of people don't approach the job like that. They've had it easy. So they haven't had to have these tough conversations. So they get in an argument with their client and it goes, and then the rapport's gone. They're just waiting for the contract to go out, or you're definitely not getting referrals. So that's it, I would say, is like the skill of having tough conversations with your clients and still staying friends and being respected through it all.
I love that. And so my mind immediately went like to conflict resolution, right? Challenging, difficult conversations. So being able to study, because I mean, there's all kinds of resources, there's all kinds of things out there to be able to really dive into. I mean, I think difficult conversations, crucial conversations, I think is a really good book to be able to dive into that. I have a framework my coach gave me, which what he calls smoke and fire, and he calls about just kind of get real, right? And learned along the way, the first rule of communication is always get permission. So I think
I just wrote that down.
Yeah, always get permission, right? So like the gentleman, coming in, and I think that gives you, the space to make sure we're having the same conversation, right? We're really trying to navigate through what it is, that they're trying to prove a point on, but what are we trying to accomplish here? And I've always, my default, Jeff, has always been, I don't know, what's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? And being able to go that way. But I love that. It was funny. Back on the 4th of July, I had Kyle Whistle on the show.
Yeah.
And, we go through the whole thing, right? He's just a fan. Kyle's incredible, right? Maybe a slight man crush over here, but he's just a good dude. Every time I talk to him, I mean, he's fantastic. We were having a great conversation, and then we get to the end, and he kind of laughs a little bit. And he goes, there's only a couple things that really matter in this game anymore. And I said, what's that, Kyle? And he said, I used to clown on these people. He said, but knowing what to say and knowing how to build a relationship are about the only things that really matter in this game anymore. And I started laughing. He goes, yeah. He goes, I used to clown on Ferry and I used to clown on Buffini. He goes, but I think if you know what to say and you know how to build relationships, you're going to do really well in this market. And so to your point, I love conflict resolution, being able to have challenging conversations. And, how do you get yourself, how do you help others get out of that rut of those bad habits? Because that's the first thing that you kind of started. And if you've been in the market, if you got it licensed 17, 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there, right, when it was a tailwind market, and then over the last 3-4 years, we've been in a dead head-on market. However, there's some agents that are barely staying alive in this industry that are still trying to rely on habits that they developed in the tailwind market that obviously are not serving them in this headwind market. How do you help navigate folks to break the habits that just aren't serving them?
Yeah, how do you break someone's habits? That's a rough question, but I think if they're open to it, we'll say. I think if people are coming to me for help, it's usually because it seems like, whether it's a scarcity mindset or they feel like we're always keeping score of these conversations. Did I win? Right? Did I get the person to do what I said? Oh my God, they want to make an amendment. How do I tell them not to make an amendment? I'm like, you don't, right? You talk them through what their options are and what would happen on either side, and remind them what their goals were and what's at stake. And like, that's how you do it, right? Like, you have to detach yourself from the result of the conversation, because you are going to lose some. The firmer you get, and we're not all magicians and NLP wizards. Like, sometimes you're going to push back and you're not going to win, right? And you have to concede. So a couple of things underneath permission. A different one I also wrote down is like, I always remind my clients that it's okay if we disagree. And we're just having a conversation. At the end of the day, I'm always going to do what I'm told. That's another one of those framing questions. I'm like, it's this totally fine if we don't agree. I'm always going to do what you say, but I'm always going to give you my opinion. Does that make sense? And they love that. Because then we can say things like, listen, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say this, right? Or I just got to stop here because what you told me on yesterday's call is totally different than what we're talking about today. So I want to make sure one of these conversations was out of line, or did things change overnight? And you got to be able to say that and not feel awkward. One of my great business coaches, she reminded me, she's like, awkward conversations are more awkward for the other person. Just remember that, right? So you got to get that. You're the professional was her point, right? She's like, they're the amateur. They're the client. You're doing this every day. If it's awkward for you, we got a skill issue, right? So let's level up and get out of our mindset that you're trying to avoid these conversations.
That's so good.
Yeah. And then the other one that really helps me, and I felt it change in my life where I've got this ability now to never be in this conversation, right? Like I know that we're on a path. And I'm okay to have one, even if that conversation ends bad. I know our relationship's eventually going to end well because I always leave things well, right? So I'm okay. And I have to remind younger agents, I think sometimes, that you got to go down into the mud with your clients sometimes and come up the other bank of the shore. You can't, there's no building a bridge sometimes. Like we got to go together. And if in those instances, just like a good friend, like you're just going to be with them in a crappy situation for a couple of days. Even if you can't solve it, but a lot of people are going to run and hide in those days. And so instead you got to double down on your communication usually when it's feeling awkward or it feels like, I hope they don't call me today. You should call them, right? If that's the feeling.
Yeah.
And that's so it's like do the opposite. Like this, I don't know. Some people are naturally good at it. I think it's how you're raised, maybe parenting or whatever, whether it was an open communicative environment or whether when things got heated, everyone shut up, right?
Yeah.
And so just recognizing that you can be the one that helps everyone feel better, or you can just be the one that hopes everyone feels better, right? And like just talk it out. Like I don't have to solve everyone's problems. Sometimes I just got to be the ear and just talk it out, right? And yeah, I don't know. We went down a tangent there, but I think that's what you're asking.
I know 100%. I mean, it's everything I'm hearing it's the other skill to develop is leadership, right? You've got to really lead the situation. You got to lead the client, like you were talking about, right? Like if the conversation's awkward for you, then we've got a skill gap that we need to focus on, because you've got to remember, even though like I love what you said, right? At the end of the day, I'm always, I'm hired to help you get to where it is you're trying to get to. But you got to lead that conversation. You got to lead that situation. And I feel the way the market has kind of ebbed and flowed over the last couple of years, I feel there's situations to where you got to lead everybody involved. You got to lead the other agent. You got to lead the other agent's clients. You're leading your clients. You're leading yourself. You're leading the lender. You're leading the attorneys. You're leading the inspectors. You're leading the appraisers. And it's just like, man, but that's not my job. I'm like, it is.
I was just about to interrupt you and be like, that's the attitude change, is you got to like get rid of that. Why isn't anyone else doing their job? And it's like, no, I'm going to do everyone's job and I'm going to knock this over. Right. Because it is. And that's what I mean about more work. Like, yeah, it is. It's more work. It's more phone calls, more amendments, more paperwork. It's all more work right now. Yeah. But so what? That's going to wean out some people. Like, I'm ready for it. You got to have that attitude. Like, let's go. I'm ready for the more work. He's not, she's not. Right. Yeah. I think that's that mindset. It's like, if you're naturally a complainer, it's a rough time right now. Right. Cause there's tons to complain about, but if you can just like stay focused on all the opportunity and the good and like what's in front of you, and how our job can be pretty simple as long as you do have opportunities. That's really the challenging part. But the job of it is not that challenging. Like, let's go, right? But I get it why people, that's not a default mindset, right? It can feel very scarce, very Shark Tank, very much like the pie shrinking, but you got to fight that mentality every day.
Yeah. And part of the reason why, you got back into the circles and the circle that you're in, right? Because environment is greater than willpower. And you're right, man. There's a lot of times in this industry. I mean, you fill out, you're on an island all on your own. And so just making sure, knowing your values, aligning with those that believe what you believe, align to those values, and get into that environment that is going to push you to continue to grow and be the best version of yourself is so important. One last, I would love kind of your thought on this, and it's just kind of the direction and where the industry is going. And, mid point of last year, the buyer and seller complaint, number one complaint, moved from lack of communication to I know more than my real estate agent. That's the new complaint. And 80-90% buyers have access to the same information that we used to be the gatekeepers of, that
Totally.
we no longer have, that under lock and key behind kind of a paywall. They had to hire us to be able to get access to this information. All the information's out there. So the complaint, I know more than my real estate agent. We talk about AI, empowered real estate agent, but a lot of the agents aren't thinking about the AI empowered consumer and how armed of the information that they have. And a mentor in the AI space has this kind of moving out of kind of the knowledge based error into the wisdom based error.
Oh, gotcha.
And, having a conversation with you, you're so well, versed in a lot of the attributes and skills kind of required to truly navigate, that really truly brings wisdom into the conversation. Younger agents or agents that, maybe that clicked for them and they're like, oh, okay, well, I need to up a lot of things. One being, knowing my client that I'm working with believes they know more than me. How do I, up my, my abilities, my skills to be able to articulate that, hey, all the information's out there, right? I'm not gatekeeping. I don't know more than you on information. Maybe I have some inside knowledge on things that aren't online available that you're finding through, AI, the machines that you're finding. Where would you, remind agents, maybe even reminding yourself that the consumer is getting smarter and they have been for a long time. Where do I go to this value pocket that has shrunk, right? Because we used to have a massive value working with buyers and sellers, but I think our value window has shrunk, but we can, bring a massive amount of value to help them solve whatever it is they're wanting to solve and still charge a premium for that value. We talked about conflict resolution. We talked about, the skills, but how important knowing the consumer is smarter for us to focus on in the interactions that we're having with these smarter buyers and sellers.
Well, you got to reposition what you think is your value prop sometimes, right? Because if it's like, and this is not even AI, but if you're like, oh, I take professional photos and a drone shot and offer a home staging consultation, well, congrats. So does like 85% of agents in their home listing presentation now, right? 15 years ago, that sounded pretty cool to the average seller. Like, whoa, what is home staging? What are video tours, right? So I think the same thing is if you have a business that was based on you being the gatekeeper of data, like that's fractured and gone, whether, at some level, that's already been long lost to the Zillows and the other platform sites, in Canada and otherwise. The consumer now is going to be empowered even more to have that same information, but so are we, right? So what do we do instead? I think that the only reason our industry still exists is because it's a extremely complicated, risky process full of all kinds of steps and red tape, right? That you only do once a decade or every half decade as the average consumer. Mm-hmm. If you're an institutional investor, you probably don't need the average real estate agent, right? Like you are probably more well-versed. A flipper who's done 20 flips calls a rookie agent. He knows more about his market and what he's looking for. So what value can you possibly bring? Well, I focus, and I would encourage other people to focus on, we're you're like navigating you through it. We're going to go shoulder to shoulder with you, and I'm going to take you through this process, and I've got your back at every step. I said this to this guy that was wanting me to prove the value. I said, what you're not thinking about is what I bring to the table is that you can go to bed at night knowing everything is being done to sell your house possible in this market. That certainty you go to bed with. You hire the other guy, you don't sleep well at night, is what I told him. And I'm like, that's what it's not. Yeah, sure, we do the same thing. We're loading it to the same MLS. And then I went on myth busted all this stuff that doesn't matter. But I reminded him that, I'm willing to commit my time to care about his transaction from now to the finish line. And that's what he's hiring me for. And I believe that's what anyone hires anyone for, right? Is certainty, whether it's your broker, your team leader, or why you hire an agent, is because you want to feel more certain that your goal is going to be reached. If you don't provide that in some way in your presentation or in your language and in your feeling, you gotta, in uncertain times, you gotta know, don't worry, I got you. I'm taking you over the finish line. I will get this sold for you. We will find you a house. Like, you gotta, whether it's promises that you're very charismatic, or you actually you can lay out a logical plan, whatever your sales style is. But I think that's what's working and what people really want from their agent right now.
Dude, that's so good, Jeff. That really is. I was just thinking, because I was talking value proposition in 26 to buyers and sellers, and you nailed it. I think it's certainty because in a headwind market, there's so much uncertainty, and so you can sell certainty, and people will pay for that, right? People will pay for certainty, and I love that. That's such a great point. Obviously, you got to have the proof and to be able to back it up and the plan to be able to get them, to accomplish whatever it is they want to. But Jeff, I love that. It's fantastic, man. Brother, I appreciate you jumping in here.
You're welcome.
I feel, we can keep going, but
sure.
just for time's sake, I do greatly appreciate you jumping in here. You are, a tremendous asset to obviously the organization you're a part of, but to the marketplace that you serve. What, Jeff, people want to get connected with you. What's the best way to get connected?
Yeah, my real estate YouTube channel is pretty popular. So if you want to see what I'm up to or what works for me and try to do it in your market, so that would just throw my name into Google. If you are looking to reach out one-on-one, just, my phone number's everywhere, or my Instagram. But yeah, you'll find me, and connect. It's always great to hear from other agents and see what everybody's up to. And I love building my network that way.
Yeah, for sure. Brother, I appreciate you. Guys, make sure you get connected with Jeff. Go check out the YouTube channel, and we will catch you guys on the next episode. Jeff, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
See ya, guys.